The president of the museum, and it's my pleasure to welcome you for an early look at Impact, the End of the Age of Dinosaurs. Impact presents the latest scientific understanding of the cataclysmic asteroid impact 66 million years ago that wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs and reshaped our planet forever. We now know that the asteroid impact didn't just end the age of dinosaurs, it cleared the way for something new, for mammals to flourish, setting the stage for the rise of humans millions of years later. So this isn't just a story about the end of an era, it's about the beginning of ours. In this exhibition, you'll see how we came to know so much about this event through fossil and geochemical records, life-size models of Cretaceous creatures like Triceratops on land and the Mosasaur on the sea, an immersive video about what happened to Earth when the asteroid hit with the force of billions of atomic weapons, amazing ancient animals that lived after the impact, such as the Titanoboa, a snake that could grow more than 40 feet long, and the largest land animal that ever lived, the Paracitherium, which was 3 times heavier than an African elephant. We'll also learn about the incredible diversity of life that exists on our planet today, including through a layered collage by artist Claire Celeste Borsch that celebrates the beauty of life on Earth while acknowledging the urgent reality of species loss. Impact was created by a team of 5 museum scientists, and the combined expertise creates a powerful interdisciplinary narrative. Leading the team is Roger Benson, the museum's Macaulay Curator of Dinosaur Paleobiology, and you'll be hearing more from him soon. Michael Novacek was on the team, curator in the Division of Paleontology and a leading expert on mammals. Neil Landman, curator emeritus specializing in invertebrate fossils. Denton Abel, curator and meteorite specialist in the Division of Physical Sciences. And the late Mark Norell, a world-renowned paleontologist, educator, and former curator emeritus in the Division of Paleontology. Mark had an outstanding 32-year career as a curator at the museum, including chair of vertebrate paleontology for 22 years, and was the inaugural Macaulay Curator and the curator of a number of groundbreaking exhibitions here. Through fieldwork, cutting-edge scientific analysis, and a gift for collaboration and outreach, Mark and colleagues helped to demonstrate that birds are living dinosaurs and transformed how scientists and the public see dinosaurs. We dedicate this exhibition to Mark and the influence he left on this institution and on his scientific family around the world. I'd also like to acknowledge the input on biodiversity content from Annalise Porzakanski and her colleagues at the Center for Biodiversity and Conservation at the museum. And of course, I also want to recognize the award-winning exhibition department here at the American Museum of Natural History under the direction of Lori Haldeman, Senior Vice President for Exhibition. Creating an exhibit is a team effort. Scientists, artists, writers, and visualization specialists combine expertise to turn research into an experience that inspires curiosity and wonder. The museum gratefully acknowledges the Richard and Karen Lefrak Exhibition and Education Fund for their support of this exhibition, with additional thanks to J&G Jacobson and family for their sponsorship. I'm happy now to turn things over to Roger Benson, Macaulay Curator of Dinosaur Paleobiology, to tell us more about this exhibition. Roger.
Thanks, Sean. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's nice to see you all here. So, 66 million years ago, asteroid the size of Mount Everest struck the Earth, changing life forever. Giant reptiles that had previously dominated ecosystems on land and in the oceans became extinct, never to be seen again. So there's no doubt, well, arguably at least, it was the worst day of the last 500 million years. To me, it's incredible that I'm telling you these things, and you believe me. It seems ludicrous based on our personal experiences of the world. It sounds like science fiction or the stuff of Hollywood movies like Deep Impact or Armageddon. Clearly, these events made a huge impact on our collective cultural consciousness. And they unite things that people really love and have a genuine heartfelt interest in, not just from a scientific perspective. So dinosaurs, our solar system, and cataclysmic events on our changing planet. So it's astonishing to me that we can know these things, and we're really excited. It's really exciting to have worked on this exhibit, presenting a scientific story about these events and how we came to think that we know what we think we know. From diverse scientific sources, so including biology, geology, and the physical sciences of space. So our new exhibition, Impact, the End of the Age of Dinosaurs, presents the story of these two events. And it's more timely than ever as a reminder that we live on a changing planet. And sometimes those changes are slow, sometimes those changes are incredibly fast. But whatever the case, we can expect that it will continue to change into the future. And it opens next week on November the 17th, as Sean has told you. As Sean introduced our curatorial team, it's inherently multidisciplinary. You know, a vast amount of work is done by our exhibits team in consultation with us as curators, and in fact, I would go as far as to say they make our life extremely easy and get to really focus on the fun stuff. So, you know, these are models, you'll see life-size models of extinct animals, including dinosaurs and the animals that lived alongside them, as well as creatures from early in the age of mammals that are giving rise to diversity on our planet that we live on, that we see today. And really this process of working with model creators, with video creators, with graphic panels and explanatory text in the exhibit, it's really at the intersection of arts and sciences and communication. And for me, I've been at this museum just 3 years now. It's actually a really thrilling experience, and I'm really excited for you to go into the exhibit and see it, and for it to open to the public. When we make models like this, you know, just to think of one aspect of the exhibit, many aspects are informed directly by the science. And it's interesting how you think you know scientifically something about an extinct animal, like you'll see our life-size model of Triceratops. But when you actually have to fill in all the gaps over every inch of this animal, how it holds its body, what its hands and feet looks like, you realize in many places we have direct evidence that comes from the bones, from the footprints that we have, the trackways that these animals left in life, rarely from preserved soft tissues, so things like skin impression or feathers of these animals. But there's always a few gaps we have to fill with plausible inference. And we really tried to make these animals, you know, they were real animals that once lived, not just monsters. We have a genuine scientific understanding of them as organisms, and we're trying to recreate a real living organism for you. So we introduce you to a Cretaceous world. Cretaceous world, good. With thriving ecosystems, including, of course, animals that are very different to things we see today, but living alongside them the roots of present-day biodiversity. So including animals like, you can see if you can spot these in the image, or in the exhibit itself, including things like some of the earliest mammals, lizards, and birds. And even these familiar elements sometimes would have seemed unnerving to us. So many birds had teeth. Seems remarkable to me. We then engaged visitors with a panoramic audio-visual experience in the Impact Theatre, documenting the moment the asteroid struck Earth and the physical impacts of that unfolding over seconds, minutes, hours and days, including earthquakes, tsunamis, material re-entering the atmosphere after the impact, heating our planet through re-entry, followed by at least several years of near-complete darkness, during which time photosynthesis, so the process by which plants and plankton in the surface of the ocean generate energy from the sun, that's at the root of almost all food chains on our planet. Photosynthesis was shut down for at least a couple of years. And really, that was catastrophic for animals living on the Earth. There's evidence. Evidence from geology and from which species and groups survived the impacts tells us something about the physical mechanisms by which this asteroid impact caused mass extinction. We saw high rates of loss, for example, among large-bodied land animals, especially giant herbivores who had nothing to eat, and the giant predators that depended on them. Survivors were generally the animals that could take refuge underground or in the water, or in the deep ocean, or other animals living in freshwater ecosystems, for example, that don't directly depend on photosynthesis.
What's going to happen now?
Yes. The impact, as destructive as it was, we think of this as a destructive force. It's actually a phenomenal creative force without which our planet just wouldn't be the same as it was today. So over hundreds of thousands and millions of years after the impact, Earth saw a spectacular diversification of life, including many groups of mammals. These behind me, those are things that mammals do today that just simply didn't exist before, including flying mammals, the bats. That middle image, that's an early ancestor of whales, a semi-aquatic ancestor on the line leading to whales, which include the largest animals that ever lived. For example, the blue whale weighs 180 tons, which is actually harder to believe, honestly, than the events of the end Cretaceous mass extinction event, how big whales are. And the largest bodied land mammals that ever lived. This is a life-size model of Paraceratherium, reminding us that not just dinosaurs, but also mammals can take on enormous sizes. And also the roots of our own ancestors, the primates, and the evolution of our own species. It's unlikely that these things would have happened without the end Cretaceous mass extinction event. So ultimately this event gave rise to new species, but also whole new ecosystems. So the first closed canopy tropical rainforests, this is a tremendously important ecosystem for biodiversity today, appear only shortly after this asteroid struck the Earth. So we focus on this creative story. The end Cretaceous mass extinction event is not the only mass extinction event in Earth's history. It just happens to be the most recent of 5 mass extinction events, and the only one, to our knowledge, that was caused by an asteroid impact. The causes of the end Cretaceous mass extinction event were actually deeply mysterious until relatively recently, depending on your age, really resulting from discoveries by a small number of individuals in the 1980s, including the enrichment in sediments that are enriched in iridium at the boundary clay layer, which is really, those are the rocks that were deposited around the time of the impact. And that iridium enrichment is the signal of an extraterrestrial impactor. Other potential causes of the mass extinction have remained under contention for some time, especially a massive episode of volcanism, of volcanic activity occurring in India across approximately 1 million years during this time interval, changing the composition of our atmosphere, causing climate change, and potentially putting ecosystems under pressure. The growing scientific consensus now is that the extinctions were abrupt and very rapid, for which we need an abrupt, rapid cause. So it's very likely, it's plausible that the volcanic activity played a role, but it's very likely that no mass extinction would have occurred without the asteroid impact. So this reminds us that we live on a changing planet. Earth is rich in biodiversity that's currently under threat, most likely due to our activities. Rates of species extinction over the last 100 years or so may be comparable to those that occurred during mass extinction events of the past, but we still have time. And we highlight how conservation action going on in the present can protect against biodiversity loss, including controlling introduced species, protecting habitats, and thinking about how humans interact with their environments. I was supposed to advance slides, but I didn't. Now I'm going backwards. This is deliberate. Some of you may wonder, could this happen again? Could it happen today? We expect it will happen again, but on average, only once every 100 million years. So maybe not today, but next week sometime. Hopefully after we've opened the exhibit. There's various things you can look out for in the exhibit itself. This is interactive, where you go to Space Academy, it's called Space Academy, Planetary Academy, and learn various scientific methods that have either been implemented in practice or mostly exist in theory about how we might deflect an asteroid that we detected from impacting with Earth in the present day. I wonder, biodiversity today. This is the last slide. Things to look out for include touchable exhibits, including casts of mosasaur teeth and triceratops skin, life-size models of extinct animals, evidence, and scientists, we care about evidence. And my personal favourite, the birds with teeth. They're very small, they're hard to spot, but you should try and count as many of them as you can. And that's it from me. I'm going to hand it back to Roberto, who's going to take us over to the exhibit itself. Thank you very much.